What is wonderful, gods and goddesses? We're going to get going here on more about the pyramids, the body as a temple, Tesla coils, Orgonite, Faraday cages, Bioluminescence, and a bunch more. I'm not sure where to start. I guess we'll start with the body. And this is there's two videos I've done earlier. One is about phosphorus and one is about the pyramids. Maybe I'll try to link those below, but I kind of I kind of don't like doing that, so it just gives you a little bit of a hunt to do, a little bit of a research, as this took me about 15 years of constant, constant gardening to my own consciousness, searching and uncovering things. I guess it would serve you well just to look through my videos. Maybe you'll find some other gems out there that will serve you too. But anyways, the videos are, like I said, one's on phosphorus and one's on the pyramids. But I'm going to try to go a little further on that and show some really interesting connections between what a Faraday cage is, what Organite is, what uh, the the pharaohs were, and what your body is. We even get into X-Men and Magneto and how Organite is even involved in this. So if we look at the body, as I've told you before in another video, we look at it three ways. We look at it first as an electrical system, second as a liquid system, and third as a material system, as a doctor might look at it, as a mechanical system. So we look at it backwards. We look at it first as a material, a a system of pulleys, and then we look at now we're kind of into this paradigm where we think of it as a computer because we're looking at the brain. And yes, these definitely exist, but we have to see it from how does a computer work. It works through electrical charges, and we see that now computers are starting to be cooled with water or plasma. And so we start to see a lot of similarities because the body is the highest form of technology that we inhabit with our spirit, and we take the things that are within our body and we mimic those outside of our body using the inorganic world. And as I've put out there so many times, these things in the inorganic world are just fine. Let's just not consume them. Let's just not eat them. Let's not have them running our lives. Let's have them serving us the way they should be, because these inorganic structures, they're just too happy to do whatever it is they do. We're alchemists and we can change the state of certain elements. We can adjust as alchemists. We can adjust these things for these materials. But as they sit there, as a rock sits there as a rock, it's on that frequency and that harmonic, and it's just happy to be a rock. And that rock is happy to build a building that you can stay dry and warm in, and you can do all sorts of things in, or it would be just as happy to lay there on top of you and to crush you. It has no conscience. So we have to remember what the inorganic world is, and we have to use it as such, because it's happy to do either one of those things. But as the alchemist, as the magician, as the being, as I'll put out there, as I always say, you have thumbs, you have an imagination, you have a heart, you have feelings, you have the tools of language, you have all of these technologies in front of you to build as you see fit, to be a mother son, a mother father, a free builder of things. So everyone has this capacity. It's that we've been under the inorganic world, as the inorganics have been just running around doing what they do. And so now we just have to flip it over and ride the inorganic world. Use it the way that we use aeroplanes. Use these things to help alleviate stresses rather than adding to them. Help them to move things for us, to help them to have these things help us to be our, as the book is written, the four agreements. Like the first four agreements we had were with the air, fire, earth, and wind, and to become this body. But now as we become creators and magicians to the fullest form, gods and goddesses to the highest degree, we take these agreements that we have and we further expand them. And we don't get caught underneath or inside of these things. We just use them as they should be used. Just like we're using this tool, this technology of a computer of a bunch of inorganics, we know not to put it in our mouths. We know not to eat the computer. It makes no sense. There's no nutrition there. But it does provide some source of light. It does provide an angel, a ray of light through this screen that provides us with information. It uses the crystals from the earth that were harvested that we probably should have left there, but once, as I put out there before, it's fine. Let's use the things that are up above the earth now and use them in the best way we know how to. And it's to deliver information to other people, to free people's minds, to get the salt out of people's systems, to put the salt on the ground, and to build to build an artistic, creative culture. And as I'm going through this, we're going to explain how you can better suit your system, your organic body temple, how you can clean it out and become a capacitor for energy within yourself and to help clean and alleviate other people's dilemmas and problems they have in their life, their dis-eases, their disharmonies. And so if we start to look at the body differently, as I was getting at, if we, instead of looking at it as a mechanical system first, if we first look at it as a electrical, then a plasma / water-based system, and those are all really bound together, if we look at it from that standpoint first, then we could better understand the energy system within ourselves. Because if we look at the body as just a physical thing, and then we have then our mind doesn't matter, our common sense doesn't matter, our feelings don't matter, our hearts don't matter, that everything doesn't, there's just a black and white slate of inorganics. But since people are living, but they've just confused things, we have to see they're living because they have spirit inside of them. And the spirit is pushing it. The spirit is what makes the left leg go in front of the right leg. The spirit pushes the inorganics around. The spirit is what moves the body. So when we look at it from that electrical plasma delivery system, as you being the electrical plasma, then we start to respect and change the things that we consume through all of our portals, meaning our ears, our nose, our eyes, and our mouth. But most importantly, our mouth, because it's the most dense realm and it's the one that we have the most control over. We don't have very much control over what we have to listen to, what we hear. We do to a degree, but it's not affecting us to the degree that the matter, that the heavy things the dense things we're putting into our body and going into Baal's realm, we have control over that. And so that's the first thing we need. That's the first entry point that we need to really start to consider. And as we look at this body as an electrical plasmic system, we look over to the right there, we see the cord. If we look at that cord that's glowing as your veins in your body and the blood plasma that's running through it, we can see how with the inorganics and the organics that are in your blood, that an electrical charge can be made through that actually enliven your system. So that's what's moving you, the plasma, the energy in the blood plasma. And this is why in other videos I've put out, I talk about quinine and the different elements that glow in the dark. Because there's energy, there's light energy, there's nutrition in there. And this light, if we look at it from a philosophical standpoint, and it might even be the real standpoint, is that if you can shine light on something, then it's always the shadows go away, the demons go away, the parasites go away. Now, does it burn the parasites? I don't know. Or does it, do the white blood cells and the bright plasma and the brightness and the light of the blood, shine light onto the parasitic things in our body, and then it escorts it out the back door? That might be what's happening. Whether it kills it or asks it to leave is irrelevant, but that's what's happening. So we can start to look at these different creatures that glow in the dark and these different elements that we can consume to turn up the light quotient in our blood. And you can check out my other videos on what those things might be, and you can start to look into the jellyfish, and you can look into different materials that do glow. So we look at our veins differently. We look at our blood differently. Our blood becomes way more important than our bones, because then we got to consider the blood is actually what's the carrier for the sound wave, for the electricity to make these bones, to make these things, along with the magnetics. So when we start to look at what the magnets are and the magnetics, and we can start to look at the Orgonite, and how is Orgonite made? Well, you take an inorganic and organic, and you sandwich them. You take a copper wire, just like a wire that's running through your wall, and around that wire is an insulator. That insulator is the rubber. And so if we think of our veins, the insulation being the vein, and what's inside being the copper wire, meaning there's pieces of what are we full of? We're full of different elements that, whether they're salts or metals, they can jump an arc of electricity through them. And if our blood is iron rich, or our blood is copper rich, or our blood is full of whatever it might be, these are places for arcs of electricity to jump through. And this is why we need oils in our system, to make sure our veins are properly lubricated, and it's like the rubber coating around the wire, insulated. We want to insulate our body so we can have more charge running through our veins. And so then when we look again, we're looking at this Organite and how it's made. It's collecting atmospheric static electricity. And this is why it can change the weather, because the weather is all about the electrical static electricity charge in the air. This is how clouds are formed. This is how things are. I've gone into another few videos on ideas about what these ceramic things are, and how pyramids are built. And I'm not going to go too far with that here, but search that one out. But the pyramids, they were built with limestone. And they were built with things just like a piece of Organite, and that's what a pyramid is. It's Organite, and this is why the king was in the chamber, using the Organite to heal and to blast off energy. And if you look at even what the sarcophagus is, sometimes they're made of ceramic, they're made of gold, they're made of conductive materials, and then the body was wrapped in an organic substance of cotton or something. I don't remember exactly what it is. But nonetheless, it might have even been hemp. It was wrapped in that, and then it was put a certain type of oil. It was anointed. There was either oil or some sort of liquid put on it. So we can look at it as that whole entire system of what the mummification of the kings were. As the king was sitting there and mummied his body and turned himself into a piece of Organite, him or herself, into a living piece of Organite. And you can do this. You do this anyways. You already are that. And we can look at these pyramids that people sell with copper around them, and the capstone. And what's that doing? What is that doing? It's a Faraday cage. And that Faraday cage is, in every way, the same thing as a piece of Organite. It's just inside out. You put the thing inside of the box so it doesn't receive any electrical charge. You put the tin on the outside, and then the insulator on the inside. See? A Faraday box or a Faraday cage it basically uses the opposite to contain a charge. Now flip that around and it becomes Organite. Now is it starting to make sense? And so it can be used together. The Faraday cage and the Organite are in and of itself the same thing flipped inside out. And they can be used together to hold charge and to spit it out. And so these kings and queens that wear these crowns, is it any wonder that they're made of materials that back and forth, like you look at the velvet or the velour thing inside of there. So that's so that the body isn't touching the metallic surface, and the charge is basically insulated. This is why the magicians, and they wear gloves when they hold the scepter, because they don't want to get shocked. So they have an insulator. And that insulator is basically doing the thing. It goes from inorganic to organic, back and forth. And it's increasing charges. This is why you can rub certain substances and cause like Take a balloon, for instance, and rub it against your hair, and you'll see your hair stand on end. And then ask yourself, what's your hair made of, and what is that electrical charge and that static electricity? Now put that into a crown, put that into a scepter. Why would they use the jewels that they use? Everybody knows that crystals are used in computers. Crystals are used as direct linkages to certain specific frequencies and wavelengths, wave bands. Now, if you put this all together into a crown on top of your head, and you are already a standing piece of Orgonite with your spine pumping Kundalini energy, pumping electrical and magnetic frequencies, the Ida, the Pingala, the two snakes that go up the spine, and it goes into your head, and now you can blast off through that, and right on top of the peak right there, the top of the crown, on the top of your head, there's that swirling spiral, the same thing that is in your taint, that little spot there. It's basically the entry point and the exit point, and it's called the conception vessel. It's the point of conception in between your legs there and the top of your head. This is why people wear hats. This is why the yarmulke is as it is. This is why in a lot of cultures it's not really it's frowned upon to touch a child in the head because there's some people that will steal the child's energy. Not if you know the child, you can give it energy. You can put your hand on a child's head because your hands, one is a giving and one is a receiver. And you can put energy into something with your hands. And you can also steal it. And so this is why it's frowned on in some cultures, because if they don't know the person, then don't touch the child on top of the head. And this is why people wear the hats they do. Now we can get to what Magneto's helmet is. Magneto, magnets. He's dealing with magnets. So he's dealing with a Faraday cage on his skull. It's basically allowing him to not be hijacked from the outside and to amplify his thoughts from the inside. And so we start to look at these Faraday cages and what their purpose is. And if we see the Faraday cage as a sarcophagus, things start to really open up to what the possibilities are. And we look at a Tesla's coil and that electrical charge. Now, where does that go? If you've ever used one of those little balls with the glass on it, it doesn't electrically affect you because that glass is there. But you can move and change where the electricity is because you're full of electricity. I did a little test the other day. It was very interesting. And I burnt out a piece of Organite. I took a piece of Organite and I put it on top of that ball, that little Tesla ball with the glass on the outside. And I put the Organite on it and I touched it and it shocked me. And I burnt the copper wire in the Organite. Interesting, huh? So it's a battery. You are a battery, and these things are batteries, and these are amplifying devices. And you don't want to screw with this if your blood isn't clean, because you'll toast yourself, you'll burn yourself out, you'll kill yourself. But if you follow the path I'm setting out very clearly for everyone, clean your body with distilled water. Stop putting salt in your body. If you're going to, you'll get the salts from the juice. And again, the salt, it's just one of those misnomers that we're using inorganic and organic as the same thing. We have to change the word. Just call it nutrition. Call it what it is. Look at the animals out there in nature that are consuming fruits and vegetables. They're consuming the blood plasma of fruits, which came from the water that bound up with the sunshine, and it doesn't eat the salt of the earth. I've put this out in many videos. You have to check out my other videos. But what's happening is it's using the salt cube, the time of Saturn, to refract and reflect light codes and information into this water, which then becomes the plant. The plant isn't eating anything. So when the animals consume that, it's getting the blood plasma, it's getting the electrical charge from the sunshine and from what's just in the air, because the moonlight does something too. The moonlight has, and I've explained this again before, that the moonlight is cold and the sunlight is hot. So if you were to look at the shade during the daytime, in the sun it's hot, and in the shade it's cool. But at the nighttime, where the moonlight is cold and the shade is warmer. So if we get into the philosophy that the sun is spitting out a reality and the moon is magnetic and pulling a reality in, it might not be spitting out cold light, but it might be drawing or magnetizing the energy of the earth and what's around and pulling it to the moon. And the moon might just be a portal to the sun, to the other side of the sun. So it makes a perfect looping system between the sun and the moon. And this even goes into why during certain times of the year when there is when there's an eclipse, there's more energy, certain things are happening. You're lining up the magnet and electric, and something else can happen. And the power in the portal changes. And again, magnetism and magnesium for the brain, and magic and magnets. So we look at the power of magnets and the power of the moon and the power of Magdalene and the power of the mother and the magnetic earth and the father electric sun. And we start to bind these things together. We start to use the organics and the inorganics to make Orgonite, to make pyramids, to make Faraday cages, and become healers for the planet and for everyone else. And again, at first you have to clean out your blood with the distilled water and with your urine. And then you'll be able to have energy coursing through you. But if you don't do that and you have salts and you're dirty, you'll have an electrical charge jump in your body and maybe burn something out in you, and it'll hurt you. And this is especially why people have brain disorders, because they're putting heavy metals and salts into their body. They get into their brain, and now all of a sudden there's electrical charges that are happening in the brain, but they're happening at a very high capacity. People get headaches. People get all of these problems with their brain, and they're frying out their brain. It's literally eating up their brain because the electrical charge is too high. So when we remove all these things and start looking at the body as an electrical plasmic conductor, we can find all new things going on. We can see music differently, and the music and how the harmonics of music and the colors and color therapy and music therapy, and how all of these things will help to rearrange the body. And how all of the foods, which are called all of the foods in nature, there's food signatures, signs of their nature, and they mimic things in the body, and they help to rebuild the organs. And if you go to a giant concert hall, they have organs. Well, you have organs in your body, and the organs in your body play a harmonic. And in the still of the night, when there's not everything going on, when the electricity in the house has been turned off for the most part, you can start to hear inside of your body the different organs in your body playing the melodies, playing the tones of each of the organs. And if your organs are dirty, if you have a horn that is dirty, you're not going to be able to hear it. If your trumpet is all clogged up, meaning your throat, it's called the trumpet, it's not going to sound right. And when you're cleaning your body up, certain things will start to get cleaned up, some will get clogged up. These things happen. And you have your liver, that's an organ, and it's playing a harmonic. And they say tug at the heartstrings. Well, maybe the strings of the heart have to do with a guitar, or maybe even a ukulele. Who knows? But certainly these harmonics are being played, and these instruments have something to do. The instruments outside of you mimic the organs inside of you, and the organ is what you need to clean. So that way the harmonics run outside of you and are inside of you, they sound right. Because you are a giant musical instrument who also gets to dance and play and create art and do a bunch of other things. So everyone should consider and look into making themselves Orgonite Faraday cages and play around with that. See how that works. And as I was telling you before, this is what I might start doing for everyone. If you don't have the time and you want my expertise and you want all the information that I have, again, I always put it out here so you can do it yourself if you want. I'm not trying to have you buying into what I'm selling. I'm not trying to sell you anything. But if your time is spent on learning and doing other things and you have the monetary units, I might just go ahead and start building really high-end pieces of Orgonite. And I have a few really great ideas for how it can get involved in music, and build crowns and build pieces of Orgonite in a little different way, that we can actually see this little thing over here on the right. It's called a Faraday flashlight. It uses a coil, a magnet, and you shake it, and it's causing a charge to happen in there. Imagine you turn the Orgonite into a flashlight. A flashlight Organite. See, I'm just giving you it for free. There you go. You want to go build it? Have at it. That's glorious. If someone builds one of those, send me one. But I'm thinking that might be a really great idea. You have a little piece of Organite that you can charge yourself by moving it. Boom. That might be something we can all start to do. Now we all start to do that and create Organite that can be charged by using our spirit and using our physical body to move something, because life is movement. So, let's see. Is that all I wanted to talk about here? Organite, Faraday cages, and let's see here. Crowns, coils. Yeah, there's ways to make these coils. I'll do another video on that too. I'll get specifically into high-tech, high-end ways of making Orgonite if everybody's interested. But I think this should be a good start for everybody, knowing what crystals are and how wrapping the crystals are actually, there's crystals in the computer, there's coils in the computer, and using these things as a device to energize yourself and the living systems around you. And there's ways to do it. We can even look into Marco Rodin's work, the Rodin coil, and how he wraps the coils in a 3-6-9 way. He does some really great work. I watched that a long time ago, and I could retouch on that, and then I can really design out some really high-end Orgonite, not just this basic stuff that people are putting out. So I hope this makes a lot of sense to everybody. If there's anything that you want me to dig into a little more, let me know. As always, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Let me know what's going on, and feel free to copy this and share it with whoever. Yeah, have a beautiful day, everybody.